What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. If you don't like it, you can have that seatbelt. Okay, so for some time now, people have been asking me pretty much to make this video. They've been asking me, how powerful will the Nintendo Switch 2 be? How powerful do I think the Nintendo Switch 2 will be? And I kind of held off making this video because I wanted to wait for more concrete information to come out. And while we still do not have the clock speeds of the GPU and the CPU, while we still don't know how many teraflops the system's going to do, right now is the time for me to finally make this video. Now, the reason, too, also to make this video is, for whatever reason, even though this information is readily available, there's still people to this day, 8 years after the Switch comes out, that still don't know what they're talking about and still are spreading false information. So, and also, I've seen a lot of people lately with the estimates that are either too low or too damn high. And it's time to give my thoughts on just what the Switch 2 will be capable of. Now, like I said before, we don't have all the specs, but we have, I guess, enough here to get a ballpark figure of just what to realistically expect out of the Nintendo Switch 2. And first of all, don't expect this thing to be a 4 teraflop machine. On paper, anyway. No, the Nintendo Switch 2 will not be, on paper, in terms of raw specs, a 4 teraflop machine. It's not going to be, in terms of raw specs, as powerful as a PlayStation 4 Pro or as powerful as an Xbox Series S. No, on paper, no, it will not be. However, none of that really matters. Why? Because the tech in the Nintendo Switch 2, just like with the Nintendo Switch, will allow this system to punch far above its weight. And with the inclusion of DLSS, it's going to punch way farther above its weight than even the Switch. And then that's even without doing the clever techniques and nips and tucks here that developers did with the original Switch, which they will still do with the Switch 2. Now, since we don't have the clock speeds for this system, we don't really know exactly what the raw power will be of this system. But I'm telling you right now, if this is anything over 3 teraflops in terms of raw specs, you should be jumping over the moon, because that's literally the very best you're going to get. And that's actually, when you take everything into consideration, everything that's coming else with this system, that's great. On the low end, don't be surprised, and I said this in a video earlier before, don't be surprised if, in terms of raw specs, that the Switch is actually under the vanilla PlayStation 4. Don't be surprised if, for some reason, the Switch 2 is like 1.5 teraflops docked or something like that. Don't be surprised. I mean, even the Steam Deck is, 1.6 teraflops? The regular PlayStation 4 is 1.8 teraflops. But that should also show you why that doesn't really matter. And I'm telling you this, whether the Switch 2 is 1.3 or 1.4 teraflops, or it's 3 teraflops raw, the games on the Switch 2 are going to look better than the same games on PlayStation 4. And the games on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck does not have any games built specifically for the Steam Deck like the Nintendo Switch 2 will. These games, at least most of these games on the Switch 2, will look way better. Well, we'll not say way because people get out of hand when I say way. These games on the Switch 2 will look better than the Steam Deck versions, period. Now, what's really interesting is that due to DLSS and due to the fact that the Switch 2 actually has more RAM than the Xbox Series S, there are going to be games on the Switch 2 that look better than the Series S versions. Now, I think that is going to be on a game-to-game basis because it's going to be depending on how those games were developed, which games are CPU intensive, which games were GPU intensive. Games that are CPU intensive will probably perform better on the Series S than on the Switch 2. But mark my words, there will be games on the Switch 2 that look better than the Xbox Series S versions, period. And it's going to be a very interesting time because these Digital Foundry comparison videos when the Switch 2 comes out are going to be pretty interesting. Like the comparisons between the Steam Deck versions or I shouldn't even say Steam Deck version because it really ain't a Steam Deck version. It's a PC lower end version running on the Steam Deck. So comparing the Steam Deck, the game on the Steam Deck, to the Switch 2 to the Xbox Series S, it's going to be very interesting. Now, if Nintendo actually does go on the higher end of the spectrum, like I said, with something that's at 3 teraflops or further, which I see maybe 3.5 teraflops is probably the absolute max that the Switch 2 could even possibly be in docked mode. If it happens to be there, along with the 12 gigs of RAM, along with the DLSS 3 or whatever it ends up using, you might get some games that can pass for PlayStation 5 games. Are they going to look identical to PlayStation 5 games? No. But if the Switch 2 is actually like a 3 teraflop machine with all of those features, yeah, you're going to have some games that can definitely pass for PlayStation 5 games. Now, will that fall apart a bit with a direct comparison? Of course. But these games on the Switch 2 are going to look great. And I think, well, actually, I know a lot of you guys are going to be really blown away by just how much. Now, a lot of people are worried about whether it's going to be a 8 nanometer chip or a 5 nanometer chip. It doesn't matter. Even if this thing is an 8 nanometer chip running an 8 nanometer chip and 1.3 teraflops, due to the fact that this system uses DLSS, due to the fact that this is going to be the most current and up-to-date base system available, these games are going to look incredible. Regardless of all that, even on the lowest of low ends of estimates, these games are going to look great. And that's all you guys really need to worry about at this point. And I think once these games are shown, a lot of this technical stuff that people are worried about right now, it's gonna go out the window because you're not the majority of us are not gonna care at that point. Still gonna be interesting to talk about, especially when you try to figure out how they got there. But at the end of the day, these games are gonna look great, and the Switch 2 is gonna be powerful enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.